Hey everybody. So by now it's Monday, I guess. Fast forward. So you're watching this on Monday. By now you should have met with your groups, and you shouldn't have met with your groups. By now you should have read and annotated your chosen article, whatever article your group's presenting on, by yourself. Annotated, come up with key terms, concepts. Today, I would like you to meet with your group at some point. I know you're all available at 9, but I'd like you to meet with your group at some point and exchange those terms and concepts, those key terms and concepts, and I'd like you to make a list and submit that list to me on Canvas. That's one of your homework assignments. There's a few assignments that, actually I'll get to right now. So your homework, not really homework, but meet with your group. Remember, presentations start Friday, and I think I'm going to go in alphabetical order by author, but I haven't fully decided yet. I would just be prepared Friday. You're going to want to meet with your group today. Create a task list for your group. This won't take that long, but just kind of what everyone's working on in your group, what each member's responsible for. And you're going to, just one person has to put all your names on it. Make a list and turn it in on Canvas. So, and then another assignment we'll get to, and then the list of key terms and concepts for your article that you came up with as a group. You exchange, combine, whatever, and then send that list that you come up with as a group. So, yeah, remember in your presentations too. I'm going to post the presentations, the handout sheet pretty soon, but remember to feel free to make connections. Make connections to Knobloch and Yagelski. We've read and discussed them as a class. So make those connections, and then yeah, make connections. Yeah, I guess that's it. To Yagelski and Knobloch. Cool. So, and actually, before we start, three important files for you to have that are on Canvas: the essay exam question creator, which we'll get to in a minute, and that's one of your homework assignments. The key verbs list, so it's just called key verbs. Kind of gives an explanation of all the key verbs that'll possibly be in the exam, in the essay exam, and kind of some common ones that you'll see as you move through college. And then there's an across the disciplines handout, which it's just questions generated from different disciplines or different areas of study. And those, yeah, that's on Canvas, but it kind of gives you an idea of, it gives you some practice going through and looking at identifying key terms or key verbs, and kind of breaking the question down so that you know what you're doing, which is kind of what we're going to go through right now. This is going to be a shorter video because a lot of Monday's plan was to give you time to work with your groups, but you have plenty of time since we're not holding class. So when we look at a question, I have red and blue to kind of mark this up, but when we're looking at a question, we're going to go through and first find the key verb. So question 1 up top: please discuss the instrumentation of the symphony orchestra as it has evolved from the Baroque period through the Romantic period. Be as specific as possible. And you're not answering these, we're just we're breaking them down, because I couldn't even answer this. I had no idea about the Baroque period or instruments used. So yeah, especially in the symphony orchestra, I don't even know what that means. But I can look at it, even though it's from a different discipline than I'm used to, and kind of break down the question. So first of all, they say please, which is really nice of them if they're asking me to. But I'm going to underline discuss is the key verb here. Underline that with red. Discuss is the key verb. And now if we look at our key verbs list, discuss just means to examine in detail. So I'm going to want to go, I know, because I know what discuss means, I made that connection. There will be a quiz on the key verbs deal, by the way. A short quiz on that, and the 6-step process that we'll talk about in the next video, which for me is like in 10 minutes, but for you will be Tuesday. So discuss, that's the key verb. We know that, yeah, we're discussing let's look at this. Let's underline, once we underline the verb, now we're going to underline just some key terms or key kind of more subject matter. So I know we're looking at instruments, I'm assuming. So I'm going to write to myself instruments. of the symphony orchestra, which, yeah, actually, Dre, I think you're the music guy, you'll probably know what all this means, but I have no idea. So as it has evolved, which is a verb, but it's not asking us, the verb isn't asking us to do anything. It's just kind of describing the question more in depth. When we underline verbs, we're looking at verbs that are asking us to do something, if that makes sense. Kind of guiding us through the question, or what to do in our response. So, and then I'm looking at the Baroque period and the Romantic period, and then I know to be specific as possible. So I have to be specific. I'm going to want to break this down, and I'm going to want to examine it in detail, which specific helps you kind of remember in detail. And that's a short explanation, but I think this kind of, it just helps out, like, hey, no matter the discipline, I can look at a question and break it down. I couldn't answer the question, but I can at least break down the question and know what it's asking me. And the purpose of this, I told you, like, we're never going to do anything without a purpose. The purpose of this is just to help me stay on task when I'm doing an assignment, so that I don't get off task, because I'll probably get a better score and be able to answer the question more fully and accurately if I stay on task. So the second one, it's a little shorter, but it's kind of dynamite in a small package. So define, I'm going to look at define and differentiate are my two different verbs when I sit back and look. I mean, again, used is a verb, but it's not asking me to do anything. What's actually asking me what's instructing me or telling me to do something is the define and differentiate. Again, if we look at our key verbs list, define is to give a concise, clear, authoritative meaning of the object idea. Think of a definition in a dictionary. That's probably the easiest way to think about it. So I want to be concise, which means short and accurate, concise with it. So I'm going to want to define, what am I going to want to define and differentiate? Hypothesis and theory as used in science. So the concepts of hypothesis and theory as used in science. So first I sit back, differentiate, by the way, isn't on your key verbs list, but differentiate, different, just to show how they're different. I guess contrast would have also been a good verb. So I'm going to want to look at, okay, I sit back, I know I'm going to have to do two different things, and I'm going to have to do those verbs to the concepts of hypothesis and theory as used in science. So I sit back and look. When I start writing, I'm probably going to look at, first start by defining both of them. So I'll go through and define hypothesis and define theory. And actually the differences might come out in just those definitions. But first I'll define them, kind of give short, quick explanations, accurate explanations, and then to differentiate, I'll show how they're different. Like, hey, here's basically what you're doing is, here's what they both are, and now here's how they're different, and that's how you've answered the question. So hopefully that makes sense. First identify the key verbs, and then look at what you're actually breaking down. So that's basically the whole video. I'm going to ask you to do the essay exam question creator. That'll be on Canvas. And what that asks you to do is it gives answers to questions already. It'll give a paragraph answer, and you'll have to, it's like Jeopardy, you'll have to go back and create the question that they responded to. Hopefully that makes sense. So you're creating the question that the answer is responding to. Cool. There's, I think, 3 of them, which that shouldn't be a very long assignment. The key verbs list, make sure you download that and keep that. And then the across the disciplines. If you feel like you need like some extra help, or it might just help to go through real quick and underline. I know most of you probably won't do it because it's not an assignment, but it will actually help you to go through and look at questions from across the disciplines, because again, it doesn't matter what it's asking you to do, or it doesn't matter what the subject area is, you can still break down the question. So go through some of those, look at those, and yeah, identify first the verb and then the subject matter of the question. Cool, so anything else? Again, homework, you should be meeting with your group today. Submit the task list on Canvas. I'll make an area for that. Create questions using the essay exam question creator, which I talked about, and then the list of key terms and concepts for each of your articles as a group. Just again, one person's name, or everyone's name on it. One person just has to do it. when you sit down, make a list, and then submit it to me when you're done. And make sure you share it with everyone in your group too. So yeah, that'll help you out a lot. It's just nice to do, basic common courtesy. So yeah, that's all I'm asking you to do today. What else was I gonna say? Yeah, again, just be ready to go on Friday. I think that's all I have for you.